Welcome to another Reading Reddit live stream highlights video. Today, we are going to be reading some Am I the A-hole Reddit stories. I found some juicy ones here. Starting off with, am I the a-hole for telling my husband that he absolutely ruined the birth of our child? Am I the a-hole for suing my cousin for $6 grand to pay for my hearing aids after he threw me in the pool? Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my girlfriend after therapy backfired? Am I the a-hole for sleeping with my friend's hall pass? Am I the a-hole for suggesting that my hookup went to see a doctor about her vagina? Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister's family live in my house after they sold theirs for a dream vacation? And the last one, am I the a-hole for saying no to my girlfriend's tradition? Juicy Reddit stories in this video. If you guys have not subscribed, make sure to subscribe or follow if you're on Spotify. And if you'd like to be here live while I read these on my streams, go to twitch.tv/bysarby and join us there. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that he absolutely ruined the birth of our child? Our daughter is now 8 weeks old, so obviously this whole argument has gone on a very long time. We both have been holding grudges, and neither of us think that we are wrong. My husband does not know I am posting this, so I am going to keep it as anonymous as possible. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, my husband started immediately telling me that I should have a home birth. I really do not know why he was so adamant on it, but he was. At first, I brushed him off and told him I would think about it because it was only 6 weeks pregnant, and the birth seemed so far off. Of course, it came quickly, and my husband would literally speak over me at doctor's appointments when my doctor would ask if I had a birth plan. This caused a few arguments between us in those 39 weeks of pregnancy, but I never really changed my mind. Eventually, my husband's mother sat down and talked to me, and she told me all of the reasons why they did not want me to go to a hospital for the birth. I expressed my concerns about, safety of the baby and myself. But just like my husband, she brushed me off. I mean, my initial thoughts are just that, hey, if you're not the one pushing the baby out of your body, shut the fuck up. Hey man, let's leave the decision on whether or not she should have people there to make sure she doesn't die, because that happens pretty regularly to people who give birth. Let's leave that decision up to her. I ended up telling my husband that I would take myself to the hospital when it was time and that I did not want a home birth. He acted as if he didn't hear me. We met with a doula who was also very pushy. I felt overwhelmed and not supported at all. I was 36 weeks at that point. So when I went into labor, I was 39 weeks, and I absolutely begged my husband to take me to the hospital where my doctor is. He wouldn't. He spoke to me condescendingly and called the doula instead. I was in labor for about 3 days, active labor for around the last 22 hours. Chat, can we kill this guy? He sucks. I agree with you, Connor. I cried the whole time. I just felt something was wrong. I was scared, and oftentimes they left me alone. The doula told me that if active pushing and labor reached 24 hours, I had to go into the hospital. I remember thinking that I could not decide which was worse, staying in labor for another 2 hours or having my baby right there. When she was finally out, I don't even remember wanting to hold her. I just remember crying out of relief. Obviously, I am okay now, but I did not have a good experience. On my first appointment after birth with my doctor, she was very shocked I had the baby. She was concerned. I was so upset. I told my husband that he absolutely ruined it for me. I truly never want to go through that again. I hear that mothers say that they forget all the pain the second they have the baby, but I didn't. I love my daughter so much, but it was horrible and it was entirely his fault. So I told him that several times. He rolls his eyes every time and tells me how mothers are strong and how I am not trying to be strong. Hey, I know that I will literally never experience the pain of having a baby and pushing it out of my body, but you're just not being strong enough. I told him that if we ever have another baby, which he wants, that I will never do a home birth ever again. His response is, we'll see. I cannot possibly be the a-hole here, can I? Everyone around me is acting like this is so normal, but it's not, is it? Girl, you are in some crazy ass get out situation, bro. Like, I feel like I'm just always doing that Reddit thing where I'm like, yo, get the divorce. But like, genuinely, how are you still with this person? How are girls getting icks from guys when they're like chasing after a ping pong ball, but they don't get icks from guys when they abuse them? Like, I would consider this abuse. You were vulnerable in a position where you literally couldn't move because you were in labor, and instead of going along with your wishes and getting you to a hospital during a time when you could possibly die, he was like, nah, we're just gonna do it my way. Hello? Link Strider, bro really looked at his wife and said skill issue. Am I the a-hole for suing my cousin for $6,000 to pay for my hearing aids after he threw me in the pool? My family is all on my cousin's side for this issue, and I wanted some outside judgment. My cousin, 25 male, has always been the golden child of our generation. He's funny, good-looking, and outgoing, not to mention a boy amongst girls. He's always loved to mess around and play pranks. For the record, I really dislike this cousin. I think he's irresponsible, childish, and annoying. I've had hearing problems for years. I recently got a $6,000 pair of hearing aids. Recently, at my grandmother's birthday party, we were all eating and drinking on the back porch. My grandmother has a pool. My cousin decided he was going to throw me in the pool because it would be funny to ruin my hair that I just got done that day. I repeatedly told him to stop and put me down in a very serious and not playful tone at all. He threw me in the pool, and my hearing aids were ruined. Afterwards, when I told him what happened, he basically said, "Whoops, didn't know you had hearing aids now." When I told him the cost of them and that he would have to replace them, he freaked out and said, "No way." My family didn't want me to make him pay for them because I significantly out-earn him, and also everyone else in the family. He was in college at the time, barely making ends meet in a call center job. His girlfriend and him have a baby, and they live in a one-bedroom apartment. He refused to pay, so I took him to court. I won. That is some bad bitch activity. I have to fucking respect that. He refused to make the payments after, so I took him back to court, and his wages are now being garnished for the maximum amount, which is 20% of his total wages. It pushed him over the edge of what he could afford, so he's had to work extra and drop out of college to be able to pay their rent. My family is absolutely fuming at me. I think he made one bad choice after the other, and he has never given a sincere apology during this whole ordeal. Had he gave a real apology after the incident and asked if he could wait till he finished school to pay me back, I would have been fine with it. But the entitled little prick is digging his feet in at every move. Am I the a-hole? The only reason I could see me maybe being the a-hole is because it's affecting his child and girlfriend. No. Here's the thing. You're not affecting his child and girlfriend. His actions that he's suffering consequences for and should suffer consequences for are affecting his child and girlfriend. It's solely his entitlement that has gotten him in this predicament. It's not like OP's being an a-hole. She's asking for something very reasonable, which is, you broke my thing, I want you to pay for my thing. Very, very easy not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my girlfriend after therapy backfired? My 28 male girlfriend, Emma, 27 female, and I have been together for 6 years. For most of the time, we've been happy. Like, really happy. The kind of relationship people say just works, you know? We were always on the same page, rarely fought, and genuinely enjoyed each other's company. But over the past year, things started to feel different. Small arguments here and there, more miscommunication, and just this weird sense that we weren't as in sync as we used to be. It wasn't anything major, just the usual wear and tear stuff, or so I thought. Emma, however, seemed to be more concerned. She started pointing out issues I wasn't even aware of, like how I supposedly wasn't listening enough, or wasn't as emotionally available as I used to be. I admit I've been busy with work, but I thought we were doing okay. Still, I didn't want to dismiss her feelings. Then about 6 months ago, she suggested we go to couples therapy. Now, I've always been a bit skeptical about therapy unless things are really bad, but I agreed because I figured it couldn't hurt. She said she found a great therapist through a friend and we should give it a try. I wasn't familiar with this Lily, but Emma was excited about it, so we booked our first session. At first, the session seemed fine. Lily asked good questions, got us to open up, and gave us some tools to communicate better. I felt like I was doing my best to listen and improve, but something about it felt a little off. Every time we talked about any issue, it seemed like Lily was always subtly siding with Emma. If I mentioned being stressed from work, she'd steer the conversation towards how I wasn't giving enough attention to Emma. If I brought up a disagreement, somehow it became my communication issues. After a few weeks, Emma started using phrases like, "Lily thinks you should try this," or "Lily says you need to work on that." It felt like everything I did was being scrutinized and dissected by this woman I barely knew. I didn't want to be paranoid, but it seemed like Lily was slowly convincing Emma that I was the problem in the relationship. And every time I tried to voice my own concerns, they were brushed aside. I tried to push through it, thinking maybe I was just being defensive, but it didn't stop. Every session, the same dynamic. It was like Lily was planting seeds of doubt in Emma's head, and Emma was running with them. I even started to wonder if maybe I was the problem. Was I actually this bad of a partner? Things reached a boiling point a couple of weeks ago. During a session, Lily started suggesting that maybe we should consider a break so I could work on myself more. That felt like a slap in the face. I'd been trying so hard to be better, and now she was suggesting we split up. I looked at Emma, waiting for her to disagree or defend me, but she just sat there, quietly nodding along. After that session, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I blew up at Emma when we got home. I told her I didn't trust Lily's judgment, that it felt like she was just feeding Emma reasons to blame me for everything wrong in the relationship. Emma got defensive, saying I was overreacting, that Lily was just trying to help us work through our issues. I have a problem with a therapist saying they should go on a break. Something about someone who's getting paid to keep the relationship together recommending that they take a break. I don't know if I fuck with that. It's one thing as the therapist, you help them get to a point where they're like, you know what, the best thing for our relationship is a break. But it's another thing if you just like play the hand of God and you're like, you should take a break. That's weird. We didn't talk for a few days and I started feeling guilty for snapping. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe therapy really was exposing some flaws I needed to work on, but then something happened that blew everything wide open. Last week, we went to a mutual friend's party. While there, I overheard Emma and her friend Sarah talking in the corner, giggling about something. I caught just a bit of their conversation. I can't believe you pulled it off for this long. Poor guy still thinks she's an actual therapist. I immediately confronted them, and that's when Emma's face turned pale. Sarah quickly tried to backtrack, but the truth spilled out. Turns out Lily isn't a licensed therapist at all. She's one of Emma's close friends from college who thought it'd be fun to help Emma fix me by posing as a therapist. Emma had set this whole thing up because she thought I wouldn't agree to therapy otherwise. They figured that with Lily playing the part, they could guide me into becoming a better boyfriend without me knowing. I felt completely betrayed. For months, I had been spilling my heart out to someone who wasn't even qualified to help, and Emma had been in on it the whole time. All those sessions where I felt attacked and manipulated suddenly made sense, because I was being manipulated. When I confronted Emma about how messed up this was, she broke down, saying she never meant to hurt me and that she just wanted to help us grow as a couple. But honestly, I don't know how to move past this. I haven't been able to look at her the same since. Now, Emma and her friends are saying I overreacted? She just performed some psychological warfare level shit. But for fuck's sake, did he overreact? Now Emma and her friends are saying I overreacted, that it was just a white lie meant to help our relationship, but I feel like I've been gaslit and lied to for months. So am I the a-hole for blowing up my girlfriend when I found out our therapist was a total fraud? Bro, that's because you have been gaslit and lied to for months. Like, the entire beginning doesn't matter. Even if she was helping the relationship and guide it to being a better relationship, it's still manipulative as fuck. This is a good, it could be worse story. There's not much to say, not the a-hole. This is truly like level 100 evil shit. It does not get more evil and manipulative in a relationship than this. Can OP sue that person? Is it technically illegal? Oh, I'm gonna look it up. Yes, it's illegal to pretend to be a therapist without a license. I'm smelling a fat bag for OP, bro. Am I the a-hole for sleeping with my friend's hall pass? I, 49 female, have been friends with Sarah, 49 female, for about 15 years. She's happily married with 2 kids. I'm amicably divorced with a kid. We met at our children's preschool. We've been there for each other through some tough times. Sarah has a crush on, I'll call him Jake, as long as I've known her. Jake is a popular, but not like stadium-filling musician. From what I can tell, he makes a living, has had popular albums, and has toured with A-listers, but he's not necessarily a household name. He's in his late 40s. Sarah has never met him. She's been to several of his concerts and owns a bunch of merch and considers Jake her hall pass. Again, she's married and would never actually cheat on her husband. Honestly, her crush never seemed off the rails to me. Like, she'd joke about him wooing her through IG, but she didn't, like, stalk him. So let me say here, I would never, even when I was younger, date or even flirt with a guy a friend of mine liked / was interested in. Fries before guys, friends before men, all that. It just wouldn't be cool. However, a few weeks ago, I randomly met Jake at a charity event. He was hired as the entertainment. We got to talking and one thing led to another, and I ended up sleeping with him. It was a one-time thing, fun, and we both knew it was casual. At first, I thought it was a funny, wild story to share with Sarah. After all, it's not like she would ever actually be with him, right? But when I told her, she looked really hurt. She wasn't mad exactly, but she said something like, "Wow, I can't believe you actually did that." And she's been distant ever since. I didn't think the friends before men rule applied here because he was basically her movie star crush, not a real romantic prospect for her. But now I'm second guessing everything. I feel awful for upsetting her, but I genuinely didn't think it was that big of a deal. Now I'm wondering, am I the a-hole? I'm going with not the a-hole. Just in general think the whole concept of like dibs is really stupid, especially if you're in your 40s and like one of you is already married. Like if you're a married girl, like you shouldn't be getting upset with anybody sleeping with another man, celebrity or not. Maybe ex. You should be happy for your friend. Girl, you are happily married, like stay in your lane. Edit, which is also kind of an update here. Got together with Sarah yesterday and we'll post a longer update after work. Things are going to be okay with us. Maybe a touch weird for a bit, but okay. Showing her this post helped because some people were able to express things we were individually thinking, but more articulately. I mean, glad it ended well. I'm sure it was just like a bruised ego, you know? Like it didn't even really sound like Sarah was that mad. It just kind of was like, I wish it was me kind of thing. Am I the a-hole for suggesting that my hookup went to see a doctor about her vagina? I really don't think I've done anything wrong here, but I'll give a little backstory. I've been getting together with this girl on and off for about 10 years. While we were starting our latest... Wow, wait, hold on. You've been getting together with this girl for 10 years? Now I'm curious, like, is this just like once a year we just kind of like find our way back to each other and bang? Or is this like, yo, it's like kind of a monthly thing, kind of a whenever we feel like it type of, like, what are we doing here, bro? While we were starting our latest tryst the other night, we were doing some foreplay and I was feeling around down there and noticed some concerning lumps. The lumps were pretty far inside her and I was concerned that she wouldn't have naturally gone in that far herself with her own fingers. My mind made a mental note to mention it to her when we finished. So while we were talking after, I mentioned to her what I had felt and said to her that she should get checked out. This is when she got really defensive with me and started accusing me of things. She said that just because we get together occasionally, it doesn't give me the right to talk about that stuff. I think she was also assuming I was calling her unclean or something, which is absolutely not the case. In fact, it's the complete opposite. I was just worried for her health, especially after having recently lost my mother to cancer in very similar circumstances. I'm sorry, similar circumstances after you just basically said, oh, I felt around in this girl's vagina and thought that she maybe had cancer? Bro, sweet home Alabama. So I said to her that it's better to be safe than sorry, but this didn't go well as I thought it would and she left. She usually stays for the night and we have breakfast together. I admit it was a very blunt thing to say right after having sex, but I just didn't know when else to bring it up. Am I the a-hole? Personally, I want to go with no a-holes here. It sounds like his delivery sucked ass. And maybe we could say he's the a-hole for the timing, but I struggle with calling him the a-hole here because his intentions were pure. Like he genuinely was like, hey, I'm kind of worried here. You could maybe have cancer. Like you should go check that out for your own health and safety. I can't really argue with that. I think if it were a man being like, oh, I think you might have something going on down there, that's where I could see calling him in the a-hole. Opie threw in here some edits. 1, yes, she knew I was talking about cancer. 2, yes, she knows about my mother. She was at her funeral. 3, yes, we use protection. We always do. 4, I have messaged her and explained my feelings on the matter. Mostly, I just said that there was no judgment on my part and that it was only after my mother's experience that I had to make sure she was aware of the lumps. 5, she hasn't told me if she's been to the doctor or had previously known about the lumps because why the hell would she? Her medical treatments are none of my damn business. 6, she's still upset with me. I messaged her yesterday asking if we could talk. She pretty much blew me off. Hopefully, she has to think about it and realizes it came from a place of concern. 7, I could have waited until breakfast or brunch. Yes. 8, I was more interested in the woman's perspective with regards to replies on this post as I didn't know if I had made some sort of male faux pas. 9, the lumps were small, about half the size of a pea and hard. They were not on the cervix. I know her body very well and this was not something that was there before, hence my concern. That's just really funny, bro. Like 10 years? Just fucking date already. Okay, there is an edit too. 11, I'm Scottish, not American. 12, no, I've never fingered my mom alive or dead. Sorry, brother. That's on me, dog. But also, you could have said that better. 13, she was at my mom's funeral because she knew my mother quite well, as did the 500 plus other people that were at her funeral. It happens when you live in a small town. 14, we've both had relationships outside of hookups, but there's never been a conversation between us about getting together for real. We just phone each other now and again when we're horny or bored, or both. But that's as far as it goes. I'm happy with that, and I think she is too. 15, the conversation happened about 20 minutes after we had finished and were engaged in pillow talk. 16, what the fuck is up with you lot and brunch? Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister's family live in my house after they sold theirs for a dream vacation? So I, 32 male, own a modest 3-bedroom house that I've been paying off for the last 10 years. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it. My sister, 29 female, and her husband, 31 male, are the typical free-spirited types. They've always talked about quitting the rat race, living life to the fullest, all that. Well, a few months ago, they finally did it. They sold their house during a booming market, thinking the profit would fund a year-long break to travel. They believed they could stretch the money by traveling cheaply, staying in hostels or Airbnbs, and getting by with occasional odd jobs. At first, they stayed in nicer places and ate out a lot, thinking they had plenty of cushion. But within 2 months, they were out of money. They underestimated how quickly expenses would pile up, especially with 2 young kids, 7 female and 5 male, to feed and care for. Maybe I'm wrong for saying this, but you should have no right to do like a living life to the fullest, drop all of our responsibilities type of year when you have 2 small children. When you have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old that like you should be prioritizing their health and their schooling and their social life. Like, why the fuck are we like going and traveling? Very dumb. Now that their funds are drained, they've decided to stop full-time travel but don't want to settle down yet. Instead, they asked to live with me rent-free for the next 10 months while they figure things out. They say they'll still try to take some occasional trips if they find super cheap deals, but for the most part, they want to stay at my house. I told them no, my house isn't big enough, I don't want the disruption, and I certainly don't think it's fair for them to live off me because their plan failed. I offered to help them find an affordable rental or even cover part of their expenses for a couple of months so they could get back on their feet. But that wasn't enough. My sister blew up at me, calling me selfish and accusing me of being jealous of their adventurous lifestyle. To make things worse, my parents are siding with her, saying that family should help family and that I'm being too rigid. The thing is, my parents live in a small apartment and can't take in my sister's family, which is probably why they're pushing it on me. They say I don't understand the value of experiences and that I should be more supportive. Some of our mutual friends are also saying I should be more understanding, but I think it's completely unreasonable to expect me to house their whole family for nearly a year just because they didn't plan properly. Am I the a-hole? I think the important context that I feel like I want to know is how close he is to this sister. If I'm thinking about the closeness that I have with my sister, I think it totally is an a-hole move. Like, me and my family have been close forever. My sisters have done like really nice out of their way things for me. So like in this case, it would be a no-brainer to bring him in. If OP had the same relationship that I had with my siblings, it would be kind of an a-hole move not to at least figure out a way for it to make sense for them to live in the house, even if it's only for like 2 months. And maybe they do have to pay rent. But he did offer to help them with affordable rental and even cover part of their expenses. He just like really doesn't want to live with them. I'm gonna go with not the a-hole. I would really love to know how close he is with this sister. Either way, it's his space, and what he decides to do with his space is his choosing, as well as he has offered to help them find something affordable and even help them with some of their expenses. And that is honestly more than you can ask for, assuming that this is just like a normal relationship between sister and brother. I also think there's a little bit of entitlement coming from the sister. This is a favor, not a responsibility of the brother. So for her to act like, oh, he has to do this because he's your brother, is just a very entitled attitude to have in this situation. Am I the a-hole for saying no to my girlfriend's tradition? Before we get into the last story, if you enjoyed this video and want to see future videos, hit that subscribe button. On top of that, if you're trying to dive deeper into our community, I highly recommend joining our Discord. Links to those are in the description. Feel free to tag me once you're in there. I, male 30, lost my younger brother when I was 22. He had cancer and fought very hard. Ever since, I've been donating blood on the anniversary of his death every year. I take the day off from work, visit his grave, donate blood, and then come home, relax, and watch his favorite movie. I know it's a simple, personal tradition, but it means a lot to me. My girlfriend of 9 months, Anna, female 31, asked if I could meet her and her mom. I've met her many times before, and it wasn't the meet the parents for the first time situation, for lunch yesterday. I told her no and explained again about what I do on my brother's death anniversary. She got upset and said, well, it's my tradition to have lunch with my mom every time she's in town, and she really wanted to see you. You can do your stupid blood donation tradition any day. A girl says that to me about my dead sibling, I'm never speaking to her again. That's crazy. Not the a-hole. Next fucking question. I explained to her that it's not about the blood donation. Later in the evening, while I was resting and watching my brother's favorite movie, she texted me again, asking me to join them. I reiterated that I really didn't want to, and I would hang out with her mom next time. She replied that I had embarrassed her in front of her mom with my selfishness and laziness. Since then, she's been distant. Do I owe her an apology? Yeah, absolutely fucking not. Like, easy not the a-hole. All I'm gonna say to this person, if she is so selfish that she doesn't show sympathy and offer comfort on the day that your brother died and respect a tradition that you've been doing to honor him, hey man, why are we still with this bitch? Snip, snip, chop, chop. Like, fuck her. We do have a quick little update chat. Update, I texted her that we needed to talk. She never replied. Just blocked me from everywhere. Social media, WhatsApp. Her best friend who was following me on Instagram blocked me too. I'm not sad. I wanted to end it anyways. Some users suggested that my brother / remembrance tradition saved me from getting serious with her and lifetime misery, and it made me smile. Thank you again. Aw, that's a good point. If she's this much of an asshole about your dead brother, what else is she going to be an asshole about in that relationship? If you're looking for more messy Reddit stories, click the link at the top of the description or click one of the videos popping up on the screen right now. The members of our community love these videos, and I'm sure you will too.